The 14th century was a tremendously interesting time. Europe was emerging from the Dark Ages, and universities were springing up at Oxford and at the University of Bologna, one of the very first. And suddenly there were students who needed books. This caused, in effect, an information revolution, as great as the revolution we've seen in our time today with the advent of the internet. Suddenly, books were needed, books were being written, books were being published, although there was no printing press yet. So when a student wanted a book, he would go to a stationer's, and where there would be an exemplar of a book on a table, chained to a table, and the student would take a parchment and a pen and ink and copy the book. It was much harder than going to the copy store today. A good book is a good book, whether the designated audience is young adults, or even young children. I just try to write the best book that I can to tell the story in the most authentic way I can so that the language and the story will sing. One of the really delightful things about doing my research about the 14th century was that I discovered the source of many of the cliches and expressions that we take for granted today, such as when you say that somebody can't hold a candle to somebody else. That comes from the workshop system when there was a master and a journeyman and an apprentice. And they said that the apprentice was not worthy of holding the candle for the master when the master was working at night. So that's where that one came from. Another one is when you learn something by heart. Well, in the 14th century, people believed that the center of thought was the heart rather than the brain. Another one is the expression common sense. What people thought was going on in the brain was the common senses, the sense of touch, sight, hearing, etc. That was what was in your brain. So there, when they mapped the brain, they actually showed these different senses, and they labeled the whole thing the common senses. You know, when I hear from readers, it's one of the most thrilling things for me. I've had wonderful letters from all over the world. Vivaldi's Virgins, my 2007 novel, has been published in 14 languages now. I had a fantastic letter and email in broken English from a really sweet girl who was living in Spain. And she told me that the book had come to her at a time of great difficulty in her life, and it actually gave her the courage to keep going. You know, I read that letter and I just thought, hey, I can die now. It doesn't get any better than this. I felt out of place as a girl who loved reading. Like Alessandra, my favorite activity as a child was to have a wonderful book in hand and to go off to some secret private place and just read to my heart's content, and to travel to other worlds, and to dream of other possibilities. It was a doorway for me, and now it's very exciting as a writer because I get to provide that doorway for others.